Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. I'm glad you could join me today for our Friday free lunchtime live class. I'll be taking your questions about American accent training and our 5x5 challenge, all of the tasks we've been working on, any questions you have about pronunciation, intonation, and other topics relating to the American accent. Today we're going to be talking about the T sound in the middle of words, and this is something that if you can learn the way Americans say T in the middle of words, it will have a big effect on how you sound. If you can change to the American T, you sound much more American right away. So I hope this will help you learn a little bit more in more detail about the American T and also get your questions answered. I also like to give you a quick tip that you can use right away to change your speech, so we'll do that at the end today. So please feel free to ask your questions at any time. I'm going to begin talking about the American T. You may have noticed that Americans don't say the T sound in the middle of words the same way all the time. For example, some of the time we say what's called a flap T. So in words like water and better, I don't use the same T that I use at the beginnings of words. At the beginnings of words, I use what's called an aspirated T. There's a little puff of air that comes out. I say words like to, talk, take. If I put my hand in front of my mouth, I can actually feel the air from my T sound. To, talk, try it. So in the middle of words, if I use an aspirated T, water, better, you can hear how it sounds a little un-American. By that I mean it's not how we do it in the American accent. So it'll be correct if you say, I'd like some water, and you'll likely be understood, but you'll sound different and it's very noticeable part of your accent. So sometimes we use that flap T in the middle of words, like in the words water, better, Seattle, city, Saturday. Other times we do use the aspirated T in the middle of words. That's the one with the puff of air, the T sound. So for example, downtown, there's a puff of air on the town. Maintain, hotel, guitar. And lastly, there's a third kind of T that we use in the middle of words, and this is what's called a stopped T. Typically, Americans use a stopped T on the ends of words, and I have a number of videos teaching you how to do this stopped T. For example, I don't say hot out, I say hot out, and so that final T gets stopped. I don't let the air come out, it's not aspirated. I don't say out, I say out, out. I go up to make the T and I don't release the air. So Catherine has a question. I'm going to stop talking about T for just a moment to address it. She's asking about experience and how to pronounce that second E sound in experience. So first of all, she's also asking, is it experience with an E or experience with an I sound? I personally say experience with an E sound, experience. When I looked this up for you in the online dictionary, it was marked with the vowel I, as in different and didn't, like experience. That's challenging for me to say it that way. The most important part there is that is where the stress is, experience. So that syllable is going to be stretched, long, and have stress. And then you're asking about that second E sound, the nts. And that vowel is vowel schwa. It's almost reduced to nothing. Experience. I'm really kind of using a syllabic N there, where the N and the S sound at the end are the main sounds that I'm saying. It's reduced because that syllable is not stressed. So let me show you. This might be one that would be easier for you if you can visualize. So I'll write the word experience, and then I'll write out how I would visualize it to be pronouncing it correctly. So there's experience. I would think about it as X, or just X, peer, E, ns, experience. Okay, so I would think of the first sound as X. It's really a lot of sounds. It's the X sound, but I would think about lengthening on peer, and this is the vowel that the dictionary said, peer, peer, peer. Experience, experience. So that E syllable is really like a tiny schwa in there. I don't even really say it. Experience. So I hope that helps you. I know it's frustrating with words that have a lot of the same letters and they all make different sounds. Vowels can be very confusing. It can be quite useful to be thinking about what part of the word gets the stress and is stretched out and what parts are reduced, because that helps you get those vowels correct. Hi, nice to see you, Ahmed. Okay, so back to talking about the T in the middle of words. You're very welcome, Catherine. So sometimes we use that stop T from the end of the word in the middle of the word. For example, on words like button, treatment, department. I'm not saying button with the T, but I'm also not saying button with the flap T. I'm stopping that T. I'm going up to say button, and then I'm releasing right into that N sound. That's called the syllabic N. Treatment, I'm releasing right into the M, and department, I'm releasing right into the M. So you might see a pattern there. When it's followed by an M or an N syllable, I typically use that stop T. So that's a lot of detail about what's happening with T. I'm going to give you some links that will help you with some of these details. So you might be asking, how do I know what T sound I should be using in the middle of words? What are the rules? The rules are very complex. And in fact, this is something that if you asked an American about it, they would have no idea that they even were doing it. They would just do it. And if you try to look up the rules, as I have many times, there are no hard and fast rules. But what I have done for you is gone through and identified very common words and which things they do, and some generalities for rules that you can learn that will help you. I'm going to make some recommendations in my quick fix at the end for how to go about addressing this pattern and changing your speech to match what Americans do. But what I've just sent you in the chat is a link for a video where I'm going through these different patterns on different words. And then I also suggest you take a look at speechmodification.com. I just recently posted this lesson that goes through and shows you all the rules, gives you examples, has the videos for each kind of T sound so you can learn more details. But let's just talk in general. So we use the flap T, the one that sounds a little bit like a D sound, like water and better, when the T sound is between two vowels. So this is not always the case, but most of the time when we have a T in the middle of the word and a vowel on either side, we use that sounds a little bit more like a light D. We find this when the word ends in T-E-R, T-E-S-T, T-I-N-G. So for example, greatest, better, wanted. No, that one doesn't follow the rule. Even I can't just say it off the top of my head. T-E-D and T-Y. We also use it when we have an L at the end. So for example, Seattle, little. That T sounds a little bit more like a D, Seattle, not Seattle, little. If you can change that, you talk about the city of Seattle, how it's not very little and the water is really good. You're going to sound very much more American right away. And then, as I said before, we use that stop T when there's an N or an M syllable. So some examples for that would be button, mountain, appointment, department. So when it's in the middle and there's another syllable that starts with an N or an M. And then when the T is together with another sound in a cluster, for example, distant or enter or interpret, then we use the aspirated T. So that's a lot of information. Don't worry if it doesn't all make sense right away. I'm going to give you a quick tip now, and this is what I suggest that you do regarding the medial T, the T in the middle of words, is that you start with that flap T, that one that sounds like a D, words like water and little, because that's going to have the biggest impact on your speech. And don't even worry about all of the words that have the flap T, just pick a couple of words. Maybe water, maybe you say that one a lot. Maybe you noticed when you ask for water in the restaurant, the waiter might ask you to repeat. There's another one, waiter, water. Try just saying water the new way. If you think about it as being kind of a D sound, water, water, nice and light, you'll sound more American right away if you can use that. So try one or two words, practice on the words by themselves, and then try to start using them when you're talking. That means you have to remember, but you might maybe make a little note for yourself. Okay, I'm going out to lunch, I'm going to be asking for water, I'm going to try to remember to say water instead of water. You'll also notice, if you begin to work on them and you target a couple of words, that you'll hear Americans saying this, and that's really going to help you as well, because as you begin to notice these differences, it's easier to make the changes in your own speech. If you can hear whether or not Americans said water or water, how they said that T sound, then you're going to be able to hear it in your own speech as well and make that change. So I'm so happy to see everyone here today. If anyone has any questions about this T sound or other questions, please feel free to ask them. I want to let you know I have some free classes coming up here in the Seattle area next week and the following week in Bellevue and Seattle. And you can see all of those on my website. I'm going to give you the link for that. Go to my free practice on my blog and check out the calendar of events. I hope that you'll come to one of the classes and I'll be able to meet you in person. You can always ask questions and make comments on this video or any of my videos, and I will get back to you with where you can find the answers. Frequently, I have that information for you already on videos in my YouTube channels, and I have it on my website, but there's a lot of information out there and it can be hard to find. So I really welcome your comments and suggestions because it helps me know what videos are going to be most useful for you and what to talk about next. I'm also excited to let you know that I have 2 fall classes in Bellevue coming up. They'll be starting in September. Both last for 6 weeks. One's at 12 o'clock, a noon class, and one's in the evening, and they'll both be on Wednesdays. And I hope you can join me for that. I will be doing a free giveaway for a seat in class. So if you're here in the local area, go to my website and check that out. You can enter to win a free seat in the class. And you can get more information about what we'll be covering, how the class works, where we're meeting, etc. So I hope to see you in one of my free classes, and of course back here on YouTube every Friday for our question and answer class live at noon. That's it for today. If you have any other questions, ask them now before I sign off. It's great to see everyone here, and I'm really pleased to see those of you who are taking part in the 5x5 challenge, how much progress you're making. If you're new to my channel, what that is we're doing 5 videos 5 times a week for about 5 weeks. And these are short videos, they're about 5 minutes. We're talking about an accent topic in each one of them and spending most of our time actually practicing together on that topic so that you can take that and you can really see a lot of progress in 5 weeks trying those tips. So thank you for being here today. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. SpeechModification.com.